All right. Greetings and welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Barrett-Fox back with you yet again to take just a couple of minutes to walk through our final project for the semester. And it is our sort of culminating project, which I'm really excited about. It's a project that's going to do a couple things. On one hand, it's going to be a container, right, for many of the genres that you've created this semester. You'll notice that I'm not going to actually have you include the project one, the essay that you wrote, because I really want it to be a container for just technical artifacts. But it's also itself going to be a rhetorical artifact. It itself is going to be a persuasive artifact, right? Designed to convey your personal brand and your professional experience and hopes and goals, right? To a prospective employer, to someone maybe to whom you are applying for an internship, perhaps to an organization that delivers scholarships for students, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an exciting genre. It's one that I feel really, really good about. And it's going to give you something that literally kind of give you something such as like a takeaway from this class that you will have forever. It's something that won't evaporate when you leave K-State. It's going to be a usable thing for you for the next, however many years you want to use it. So personally, I'm thrilled about this assignment. I'm also super happy with the work that this particular group has done this semester. I've seen a really high level of professionalism on one hand. And on the other hand, I've seen a real commitment to incorporating feedback in meaningful ways. And I cannot tell you how happy that makes my heart, right? The little withered heart of a writing professor is most full when we see our students caring about feedback, integrating feedback, using feedback to develop themselves and their writing into richer and more nuanced in richer and more nuanced directions. And as someone who spends a ton of time, not just grading, right, but a ton of time engaging student work, and I take pride in this. I don't take pride in too much. I'm not particularly prideful dude, but one thing I am prideful about is the not just the amount, but the level of engagement I try to give my students. And you'll see that as I'm reading through your papers. It's not just assessment. It's, hey, did you think about this? Or that reminds me of this. It's kind of more of a conversation. And I just wanted to tell you all that on one hand, the professionalism that you've delivered this semester has been superb, and it's gotten better and better throughout each individual artifact as we walk through the semester. But your commitment to incorporating feedback, it has been extraordinary, and it really makes my life exciting and fun and meaningful, right? To see that the feedback that I offer is useful to students, and the students are willing to incorporate that. I want to tell you one last thing about this. I've been teaching college for 20 years. Even though I got my PhD 10 years ago, I was teaching about 10 years before that as I was, working my way through grad school, teaching writing. And one thing that I've seen over and over and over in my years in higher education is that it's great to be a smart student, right? It's great to be somebody who's natively intelligent, because that's awesome, right? It probably speaks to lots of other sort of situational, contextual maybe privileges that some of us have and others of us don't. But what's more important than being smart? What's more important than being smart is being willing to integrate feedback, is being willing to incorporate someone else's advice into the work of your writing. If you can do that, then you have, I think, a far greater chance of being a success than someone who is just naturally gifted but won't listen to feedback or won't incorporate feedback. So just know that one of the things that good professionals have to do, in addition to being excellent at our chosen fields, is to keep a humble heart and to invite feedback into the work that we're doing, because it's always going to help us to be stronger and to be more responsible, ultimately, to the people that depend on us. And so thank you for being a model group in that regard. It's really been a pleasure, a sincere pleasure this semester. All right, so let's dig into project 6. I'm going to walk through it verbatim for you. Okay, so for this assignment, you're going to be asked to create an e-portfolio. You can call it a digital portfolio as well, that both contextualizes and demonstrates the work that you've generated for our class, right? Demonstrating, it's going to be a container for that work, but it's also going to be rhetorically contextualizing that work. So it's my strong preference that students use Adobe Express for this. And I want to say that not to be a jerk, and I know many of you maybe haven't worked in Adobe Express before, but it's intuitive, it's quick, it's free, and it'll last forever. As I was mentioning at the beginning, so it's going to actually generate a URL for you that will remain stable forever. So it will outlast your time here at K-State. It will outlast whatever you're doing now, and could be useful for you well into the future if you do an excellent job on this assignment. So yeah, so Adobe Express is going to essentially generate a little URL for you, and I'll talk about what to do with that URL when we get to the bottom of the assignment. So yeah, if you absolutely refuse to work in Adobe Express, just reach out to me for permission to work in a different application. I will say yes to that, but it's just so much easier as a grader to have things done in the same format, and it's good practice for you as technical writers to work in different applications as well. So another sort of note about audience too, and that is that, so even though e-portfolios are going to be viewed by many audiences, and that's absolutely one of the articles that we're reading this particular week, right, is talking about how these are sort of trans-situational documents. That doesn't mean I want this to be a contextual. In fact, I want you to be thinking about a few particular audiences as you generate this e-portfolio. I want you to think about first, future employers, scholarship granting agencies, et cetera, et cetera. Then I want you to, and of course I'm embedded in that because my role this semester has been a kind of proxy, right, for whoever is hiring you at your company. I want you to think about other professors. How would other professors read this? And then finally, your peers. It's important that each page or each element, right, you're going to see 6 numbered elements below. Each page or element should include more media than simply text, right? I want this to be immersive. I want it to be beautiful. I want it to be elegant without being busy or crowded, right? So keep these in mind. That though text is sort of going to be in some ways kind of the main avenue for information, you're still thinking about font, you're thinking about image, you're thinking about video, you're thinking about sound, arrangement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what you're also going to find here is that I have included 3 examples of student e-portfolios that are pretty lovely. They're not e-portfolios generated in Adobe Express, and they're not e-portfolios generated for my particular assignment. So they're not going to have every element that you're going to have to generate, but they do give us some really fun, useful models about how this kind of information might be might be generated and organized. I'll just click on one of these here. This is a student from Biola University. Seeing there's some, interesting design elements here. We get to know him up front, contact information up front, different things to click on, images, text, again, links to click on, my experience, da, 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 da. That's just one of 3 that I generate here. But if you're interested in more of them, I actually gave another list of, I think it's like 7 or 8 other student examples that are excellent, and they're all different. And this last list here, these last 2 in this list here, are actually generated from students at my former university. Before I came here, I was a professor at Weber State University for 6 or 7 years, and director of composition there. But these examples actually are not from classes that I taught at Weber State University, but they're still lovely. So take some time, peruse them, make a note of what you like and what you don't like, what works for you, what works for this assignment, what doesn't work for this assignment in terms of the way these are all formatted. So how do you submit this? Before we get into the nuts and bolts. So when you're finished, Adobe Express is going to have a little button up on the upper right-hand side that will allow you to share this. When you click on that button, it will generate a URL for you that I want you to embed into a Word document and then upload that Word document into assignments on Canvas. Pretty simple. ultimately. And remember that once you have that link, don't lose it, because you will be able to use it forever. It should exist. It should exist forever. So keep that, use it wisely. And then since you have that link, keep it. And as your, professional situation changes and you're going up for different jobs or different internships, et cetera, come back to that page after this class and, insert what needs to be inserted, take out what doesn't, and use that as a base for something that I hope will be a generative piece of like a generative rhetorical artifact for you kind of moving into the future. So my advice is do a great job on this, so you'll have an awesome template for something that you might want to revise, in the future. Okay. So what are the nuts and bolts of this particular assignment? There are 6 elements I want to see in this assignment. Element 1, the portfolio should begin with a page that introduces you, your major, your professional ambitions and accomplishments, and contextualizes the work of English 302 relative to your professional journey. That is, I'm studying to be a pilot, and this, and this facet of English 302 technical writing applies directly to the work that I might do in the aviation industry. So this page, the first one, right, this first chunk, this is our get to know you page, right? So this should end with some, it should give us some sort of a picture of you, high quality picture of you, and should end with some sort of explanation of what follows, either in video form or in text form. And this can be something like imagine a kind of a dumbed down version of maybe a table of contents or what to expect or whatever, just give the reader a sense of what comes next. Number 2, the portfolio should then exhibit your outreach email and resume, as well as, of course, appropriate other visual elements, explaining the following details in a 100-word reflection. And you're going to see this reflection element added to each of the next chunks. And this is really the new part of this assignment, right? So you're taking old assignments that you've already done, already revised, putting them into this new container and explaining kind of the rhetorical elements of each of those once they're put into the container. So you're going to explain each of these chunks is going to get a 100-word reflection. And don't freak out, because 100 words is not very much at all. So what was the audience for the assignment? What rhetorical choices did you make? What design elements did you incorporate? What successes or struggles arose in the generation of your artifact? And give a sense of how this genre might be useful to you in your career. Number 3, now you exhibit your data visualization, explaining, again, the following details. Audience for the assignment, rhetorical choices made, design elements incorporated, successes and struggles, and then you're nestling this into your career path. After the data visualization, you should exhibit your proposal, as well as necessary visual elements, maybe that didn't appear in the original proposal, but to try to make it interesting and attractive to a reader. Explaining the following details, again, in a 100-word reflection: audience, rhetorical choices, design elements, successes and struggles, and a sense of how this might be contextualized in the career path that you've chosen. Number 5, you're going to exhibit your instruction manual, along with, again, important visual elements that you may or may not have included, as well as the 100-word reflection with audience, rhetorical choices, design elements, successes and struggles, and another sense of how this genre might be put to use in the career that you've chosen. Finally, number 6, this e-portfolio should end by connecting the work you've done in this class with specific professional outcomes you're working toward. Explain how the work of this class will help you accomplish your professional goals, and explain where you expect to use these kinds of skills, these kinds of documents in the future. The e-portfolio should reflect the fact that you have reviewed the guidelines above and have taken them seriously. And it should reflect a significant amount of effort on your part to customize it, to make it attractive, appealing, easy to navigate, but still information rich, as well as, of course, balancing this kind of visual appeal. And though I don't usually incorporate assessment rubrics, I do write a lot of rubrics for the teachers that work under me, but I tend to not use those often in my own teaching because I like a little bit of flexibility. But I did want to incorporate a little bit of a rubric here. It's kind of a general guiding rubric for you, just to give you a sense of kind of the big major things I'm looking for. And what I'm looking for here, essentially, first and foremost, is rhetorical awareness of the specific situation outlined in the prompt. And what you're going to be doing is navigating between two different rhetorical situations at any given moment in this document, which makes it kind of complicated. You're outlining what the rhetorical situation was, for instance, for your data visualization, but then you're nestling that data visualization into the larger rhetorical situation of this e-portfolio. So rhetorical awareness of the specific situations, critical thinking about writing and rhetoric through reading, analysis, and reflection. That's why reflection is such a big piece in this assignment, because I want you to show your work, right? So essentially, if you're kind of like, what does reflection mean to this professor? What is he always asking us to do that for? In writing studies and rhetoric, right, my field, reflection is absolutely critical for students to show us the decisions that they've made, to elevate your rhetorical awareness into what we call meta discourse. And we talked about meta discourse last week. And finally, I want you to engage multiple digital technologies to compose for different purposes here. So I don't want you to be solely reliant on text. I want video. I want images. I want sound if you can make it happen. I want this to be as much a multimedia project that's rich and engaging as humanly possible. So that's what we're doing here. Again, we're creating a container for the work that you've generated this semester, but that container itself exemplifies a new and exciting and hopefully useful rhetorical situation as well. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for the fine work you've done this semester. Of course, stay in touch with me, and I'm always happy to answer questions. I'm really excited to see what you generate with these e-portfolios. I'm excited already in advance to brag about this work to my colleagues and to my dean. Thank you all so much.